camera in place. I'm standing a little bit away, so hopefully it doesn't do that autofocus thing that drives me crazy that it normally does. But today we're gonna work on this. Oh, this is my seed collection. I keep it in one of these little rolly IKEA carts. There's a lot of seeds in here. And as promised, we're gonna talk about seeds today. So I was trying to figure out like a good angle to do this with you guys. Oh, it's doing that focus thing that drives me crazy. And I couldn't find a way to have me at a table because I need like a table to work, but also so you guys could see my seeds. But now that I'm lifting all these things, it's gonna drive my autofocus crazy. So we'll play around with it. We'll see how it goes. But I'm gonna actually a little bit try to do what I said this video is about, which is doing a seed audit. This is my one of Serena's mega hot tips. What you need to do before you buy seeds is you need to know what seeds you already have so that you don't every year buy the same seeds over and over and over again and never actually use the same seeds and then end up with a mountain of seeds you don't need. So before you go to do your seed shopping, and I highly recommend beginning of January to be your seed shopping time. So now is the perfect time to be looking at what you already have. So I need to do this too. I haven't ordered all my seeds yet. I've ordered some of my seeds, but I still have like lots of stuff from last year that I need to go through. And I need to make sure that I am not ordering it again when I already have, like entire massive packages of it. But first, I've been waiting for this to come in the mail. And I'm super excited because it showed up today and I already have it dirty. Just in time for my seed starting videos. It's my seed starting shirt. It says there's no such thing as too many seeds, just not enough garden. And so this is going to be my very appropriate uniform to wear for showing you guys how many seeds I have left over before I then go and do more seed shopping to add onto what I have. Yeah, carrots. That's like, I didn't know that they still make yeah carrots. I thought that was like one of those ones that they don't always stock anymore. That might be why you missed out on it. Maybe it's hard to, maybe not all the seed companies are carrying it anymore. Okay, I have a massive thing of tea. Okay, I'm gonna tilt this down for a second and then show you some seeds here. Okay, so what I have on the table, I need to figure out where my camera is. Okay, there we go. Okay, so all this, I went through my cart of seeds. Right, see, here's my cart. Kind of see it there. I went through my cart of seeds. This is very awkward. Anyways, okay. I went through my cart of seeds. I pulled out everything that is flowers. The problem with my flower seeds is, so I guess maybe before I show you how I sort through these, I'll show you how I keep these. So what I do is I keep all my seed packets inside like plastic bags, so I don't have to worry about them getting water damaged at all. Because water is pretty much the only thing that's gonna mess up your seeds. So I keep them in this plastic to keep them protected. And then I have a bunch of plastic bags here because what I like to do is I also like to sort them into like a category. So my guess is that this is probably a bag of Zinnia seeds because I have a bunch of different Zinnias. This one, it has a daisy on top. I don't know what this is a bag of. I'd try to keep everything. Oh, this is like Amaranth and Celosia. That would be something that I keep all together. I also have this box. This is stuff that I purchased and I never put away. I purchased this in the fall. This was like one of the last seeds that I actually used a couple months ago. So it all needs to get cleaned up. So what I would do, here, let's start with the zinnias. This is a perfect bag to start with. Okay, there's some space. Okay. I know the angle is weird. I can see the cell phone. So I can see what I'm doing in the camera, and I can see you guys' chat comments. But yeah, there's no good angle for me to show my hands and to show my face, because my face is so far up. Okay. Zinnias. Let's start with zinnias. Okay, so what I would do at this point for my seed audit, this is a seed audit, is just me going through my seeds and seeing what I have left and what I don't have left. So, you know, I'm feeling the packs. There's still stuff in here. These all have something. Here we go. Here's like, so when I use all of my seeds, I like to keep the seed packet. So this seed packet is 100% empty, but I didn't throw it out when I used it. I threw it back in with the rest of my seeds because this keeps me focused on what I actually planted, right? Because I know when I'm planting my seeds, because I do this seed audit every single year, that I am going to be, you know, in the winter coming and looking at my seeds and using what is in this bag to determine what zinnias I'm going to purchase. So even though this pack is empty, I still kept it on hand because this is a zinnia that I really like. You know, it's a reminder to myself as I go through this audit that I want to buy more of this, having this empty seed pack. So there's still some of that. Like, okay, so these are all my options. Okay, so apparently I have like a few crumbs of these left. But I am going to reorder these anyways. So, you know, when I go to seed my trays, I'd seed these ones first, and then I'd use the new seed to make sure I'm using up the last bits and pieces. And then, okay, here we go. So I got a few Lime Queen. This is from Geo Seeds. It's Lime Queen. It's left. Then I got some Lime Blush and some Red Lime. So those, the Lime Queen series. They still have some seeds left. An empty pack to get rid of. Yeah, totally. You got to keep track. You got to keep track of like what you had, you know, and there's some stuff that, you know, like, so this pack here is multiple years old. There's still a lot of seeds in there. This is a reminder to myself that this probably means it's something that I didn't grow a lot of. That's why I still have so much. You know, I had it for multiple years. I don't really like this. That's why it's still here. Oh, here. What kind of tea am I drinking? I'm drinking quince tea. This is one of my favorite things. I have a whole playlist. I'm obsessed with quince. I have a whole playlist of quince recipes, but this is the only recipe I haven't made. It's just quince and honey in hot water. But it's good. All right. So last year for the zinnias, I bought all my zinnias by color from Geo Seeds. So my favorite zinnia to grow is the cherry tomatoes. Well, number one tomato is Juliet. The super sugary sweet cherry tomato that is orange is Sun Gold or Sun Sugar. And then the red cherry tomato that I grow a lot of is Sakura. I don't grow quince. I could grow quince, but it's part of like the apple pear family. And we have disease issues, like disease and pest issues. But I found a fruit stand that has a quince tree. And so every year I go and I spend like $50, and that's like my annual supply of quince. I can pay for that and have someone else take care of the tree. They're gorgeous trees though. Okay, zinnias. Okay, so my absolute favorite type of zinnia is Bennery's Giant. This is the main one that I grow. But oh, we got a kitten. We got a kitten. We got Bo. Cats always come to join for seed audits. They usually like lay down right on top of your seeds. Right, Bo? Right, Bo? He's all grumpy at me. Okay, so Benry's Giant. So this last year I bought them in separate colors. So this I have salmon rose, orange, lime, lilac. What is this? Oh, pink. Can't read these upside down. Wine. Okay, so these are all the colors. These have 200 seeds per pack, and I think I did a tray each of these colors. So there's probably a really good chance that this is good for me next year. Hey, can you guys not fight, please? My cats are fighting. So this is good. This is important because I probably have enough of these specific colors because it looks like I've only used half a pack. So all these colors, I don't need to rebuy. There's a few colors that I want to do that I didn't do last year. So I'd have to add those colors on, you know, and then there's a few that like bright pink. I really didn't want to get bright pink, but Ian forced me. So yeah, and I can tell this pack's a lot more full. So this one, you know, this might not get used when I go to plant seeds, but I'm going to hold on to it. You know, if I want to fill in a spot with some extra zinnias, you know, I got seed for it. But you know, now I need to make the decision, right? So this is good. I don't have to reorder it. This is, so brands. So this is a Geo seed package. This is a wholesale flower farming company in North Carolina. They're like amazing prices on seeds. They take a long time to get your seeds from them. Like at this point, they're probably going to take a few months before you would be able to get your seeds on hand. And they do have minimums. I think their minimum is like $100. But if you grow a lot of flowers, they're an excellent resource. And like if you're thinking of flower farming, they are like the spot, just because their prices are so amazing. And then these seed packets, and you're gonna see a ton of seed packets that have this branding, and that is because these are William Dam, and this is a Canadian company who sells, you know, a whole mix of like veggies and flowers. And they also do like farm size packages, right? Like here's a William Dam. This is like a pound of kale seed, right? So they do farm amounts too. And this is my go-to. This is my first choice for buying because the price is really good. And then they are Canadian, so I don't have any shipping issues or currency exchange issues. You know, some of these prices will, you know, the price on this, so like a pound of kale is $34. If I go and I look on Johnny's, you know, a pound of kale might only be $25. But when I do my currency conversion, it actually ends up that it's way cheaper for me to buy from William Dam because the currency, Canadian currency, I usually have to add 30% to what American pricing is to get the Canadian currency price. And then if there's any sort of shipping or fees or anything, that is also going to be in American currency, which means it's going to be higher for me. So a lot of what I have is the William Dam stuff. And then also I really like Johnny's. I get a lot of specialty stuff from Johnny's. And I also have stuff that'll be like this package. And this is West Coast Seeds. And that pretty much sums up everywhere that I buy from. Other than Wild Boar Farms, I buy my specialty tomatoes from them. You know, and they don't look super fancy. Here's a Wild Boar Farms seed. They look very much what they are, just a small specialty place. Someone who's doing it themselves, handwriting on the seed packs. You know, but great seeds for those. You know, and then I get bits and pieces every once in a while, but I try to keep myself really, really limited just because As you know, if you guys have been around for any amount of time, I spend a lot of money on seeds. So I need all the encouragement to stay focused that I can get. Okay, so we've gone through here, right? I've said that all the colors of the Benry's Giants, these I don't need to reorder, right? So I thought I had to reorder these. I literally have maybe already accidentally ordered some of these because I did do some flower shopping before I did my seed audit, because there's a few things that I want to get on hand in January to start. And I started throwing more flowers into my cart. So I didn't need to buy any more Benry's Giant in individual colors. The only Benry's Giant that I needed to buy was a mix pack. And then over here for Lime Queen, I do need to buy more, but I still have a few seeds left. So these I'm gonna keep with it, and these I'm gonna use first. But I need to order as if I don't have any. I need to order, you know, a full year's amount. And then I'm left with these packs. And so these are things that I do not grow. These are things that I tried in my first year of flower farming. This is the Salciando mix. And these are gorgeous. They're a pink and white variegated and a yellow and orange variegated Zinnia. They're like more of like a medium size, but they're super full, super ruffly, super fun. But they were disease prone and they weren't as productive and the flowers weren't as big. And then the other one that I have here is Oklahoma mix, and Oklahoma florists, flowers farmers, they love this. They're like a smaller size Zinnia. You know, the Benrys are huge. The Benrys are big, massive flowers. These are more of like a small, so they're used as like a filler flower to complement the Benrys. But because of the type of bouquets that I do, I don't actually need filler flowers. I can get away with just doing focal flowers because I'm doing these really simple farmers market bouquets. So these, they didn't produce the Oklahoma, they produced good. This is a good option. I would recommend this for people to grow. But if I grow this, people don't find one Oklahoma as valuable as one Benry's Giant. And so there's no reason for me to grow the Oklahomas when I can just grow more of the Benry's Giants. So I've gone away from these. These are currently in my Zinnia bag because in the spring I do a seedling sale. And so I saved these thinking that I'd sell some of these at the seedling sale. But I didn't sell that many flowers actually. So, you know, this is when the seed, look at my face. This is when the seed audit gets difficult, because this is when you need to make the hard decisions of, am I ever going to grow these seeds, right? Because as you will see, as I start going through more of this, I have a lot of seeds. And if I'm never going to grow this seed ever again, there's no reason to hold on to it until like I die, because that's just a waste of seeds. At this point, these seeds will be coming up on their third year. They're still viable seeds, but they're starting to age out of being viable. So if I'm not going to grow them, I really should give them to someone else who will grow them at this point. So I'm not ready to say I'm not going to grow it, but you know, here. Oh, I don't know. Okay, let's see. Get some angle here. I don't know. I want to like show you guys the seeds, but this is really awkward. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna get a chair. Okay, let's see this. My cell phone is on this like tripod, so let's see if we can change the angle of everything here. Okay, push this back. Okay, now I can, this is a little bit better. It's gonna do that, drives me insane, the amount of hours I spend thinking about this autofocus thing, which drives me so crazy. But yeah. Okay. So this is the hard part of doing a seed audit. There's two things that's hard about doing a seed audit. The first is like having to make practical decisions, because it's really easy in the winter to think that you will grow absolutely everything, you know. And here, to yet again put this into context, oh, this is how many seeds I have. This is like a rolly cart. There's like millions of seeds. I have like millions of seeds. So obviously I can't grow everything. I have more seeds than I could possibly use. I like zinnias, you know. I think these are great seeds. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like, it's hard to make these decisions. You know, and the other reason why I think doing the seed audit is really important is that as you sit here and you pull out every single seed that you have, you know, and you get these like mountains, like this is just flower seeds. You get these like mountains of seeds that start piling up in front of you. It makes you, yeah, a seed hoarder. I need help. No, we don't need help. Like what this shirt says, there's no such thing as too many seeds, just not enough garden. But there also is, there's only so many hours in the year. And so, you know, you gotta consider how many hours, right? I mean, I have 2.5 acres. Ian today tilled more because we need more garden, obviously. But yes, there is, I can only grow as much as I can grow in the hours of the day, right? Because I can only grow so much for free. I can't hire someone to come and grow all of these for me and not make any money. So yeah. Okay, so what I've done here, we've made the decision. We don't want this, right? This is going in the pile. It's not staying in with the rest of the seeds. It's not seed hoarding, guys. It's being prepared. It's this is like what dreams. This is what dreams are made of, right? This isn't hoarding. This is potential, right? Like this cart here, this is like multiple years worth of food for like 100 families, right? Like this is like the survival of human beings. Like seeds are amazing, right? Like I never feel bad about spending money on seeds. They're actually, this makes me think of a Google sheet to track seeds. Why would I have a spreadsheet? First of all, spreadsheets are evil. I hate spreadsheets. But why would I look at a spreadsheet when I could come and look at all my seeds, right? Like I love my seeds. Like I in no way like dislike going through my seeds. And like I will say this, guys, like I know this looks like a nightmare. I know this looks like pure chaos. And it is a little bit of chaos because of the fact that this is like the end of the season. This is the point at which I do a big clean up on my seeds. I clean and organize my seeds because, you know, it's like the same with all these flowers. They've gotten all jumbled together as I pull things out and I plant stuff, right? So I start the season, everything is very, very much organized at the beginning of the season, right? It's like, so all of my zinnias will be in one single bag. And this cart, I know this cart looks crazy, but like the bottom shelf on this cart is where I keep all my flowers, right? And then in the middle cart is where I keep all my farm seeds, because my farm seed is actually really narrow. I probably only grow about 15 things for the farm. So, you know, there's a few varieties, but the farm isn't, you know, I probably have more varieties in the flower farm than I have in the veggie farm. Because when I go, you know, it's like with carrots, I grow 2 varieties of carrots, but I need like, you know, 100,000 carrot seeds every year, and that represents eight beds of carrots, right? 8 50-foot beds. Whereas this bag of zinnias right here, this bag that I'm holding in my hand, this has, you know, 6 different colors of Bennery's Giants, 4 different colors of Lime Queen. So that's 10 right there. And then I also have a few more. I have like a mix of Bennery's Giant that I also grew last year. But yeah, so this is a ton of varieties. And this is only a bed and a half, like a 50-foot bed, to like 1.5 of those. So I do grow a lot more variety in the flowers, but then the volumes are smaller, right? Like, so I buy these small packs, like all my flowers are in the small packs, whereas the farm packs are these like bigger packs. And these ones start to get kind of chaotic. Like ideally, because I keep everything organized in these Ziploc bags, ideally I need a better system for these. You know, I need almost like a Tupperware that I can like label. So I can keep, it's like easier to pour it in and out of, because like I'll dump, you know, I get my seed hopper is like this big, and I dump 1.5 cups of seed into it. And then when I'm done using the seeder, there's like, you know, a half cup of seed, and I have to get that back in. And so that's a pain in the butt if I'm pouring it in and out of these big oversized bags. And then I also, you know, I keep everything in Ziplocs because I'm really cautious about getting them exposed to moisture, and like these, because I don't have them in a bag. Yeah, okay, so the problem with a jar, because I want everything to fit in this cart. So a jar, you know, they're circles, right? So like they like sit up against each other, and you have all that empty space. Ideally, what I need is like vertical square things that, like, I'm sure there's a container that's exactly what I'm looking for, that is at like the restaurant supply. You know, it's like a 2-cup vertical thing, something that's like really well designed for fitting lots into a fridge. That's what I need. Yeah, but I don't have space in this cart. I'm really committed to this cart, guys. Like, I really like this cart. We have concrete floors in here. So like, and this is where I do a ton of my seed starting. So you can see like how I just slide this around. I love this because this gets like tucked into a corner, and then I need it, I pull it over, you know, all my seeds are there. It's a good height. Like, I'm sitting right now, but I don't sit when I work. I stand up. And so this is a great height for me to work at the table with. So what I have, this is an IKEA. I feel like it's like called a kitchen cart or something. But crafters use these all the time. These are like a storage. I use this for my seeds because I have one of these that I use for my sewing machine, and it's like kind of my like, oh, it holds all of my accessories for when I'm sewing. It has all my thread, and it has all my scissors and everything. And it's great for, because when you're sitting, you can like pull it up. You can like use it as like a side table that then holds everything, and works so good for that I figured, oh, it'd be great for the seed cart. There's Bo's running around. He's making all these crazy noises. Yeah, I mean, there are other ways that you can organize, but I try to keep everything, you know, as tight as. Someone's trying to phone me. It's disconnecting my thing. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I do when I do these seed audits. I go through, I see what I have. So yes, I do. Okay. Dried flower video. I do want to still make that dried flower video. They're like all behind me, ready and waiting. We've been all over the place. We've been doing lots of stuff. Okay, So here's another bag. Let's see what we got in this one. This looks like it's going to be the Amaranth bag. So I have, let's see, this is Hot Biscuit. That's like my favorite brown Amaranth. And it sounds like there's seeds in there, but there's not a ton of seed. Coral Fountains, that's like the pink drapey Amaranth, still some stuff. Autumn's Touch. I think that this is, Autumn's Touch is the one that has like creamy and green color seeds. Stocking Floret for Amaranth. I have to look. I didn't, you know, I mean, a lot of what Floret sells, you can buy anywhere. You don't have to buy it from Floret. But she does have a few unique to like her things. There are a few things that she sells that you can't get anywhere else. And I know those are tempting. And those are also the ones that sell out right away. But like I haven't looked at her website this year because it's dangerous. But last year when I looked at her site, none of the amaranths that she had there were like exclusive to her. So, you know, if you can't get them from Floret, you probably can get them pretty much anywhere else. You know, I think she likes the Coral Fountain. There's I think a lot of what I grow is similar to what she has. Okay, so the other thing that I have in this pack is I have Celosia. And there's like a million in here. Oh, there's like some weird, like this is the reason why I do this. There's some weird random stuff in here. There's some zucchini in with my Amaranth and my Celosia. Okay, so my Amaranth and my Celosia, they go together. So these, I still have like a half packet on each of these Amaranths, which would be, you know, like I wouldn't need to buy Amaranth if I was going to plant the amount of Amaranth that I planted this year. But my plan is I'm going to plant an insane amount. My mom was the person who was texting or phoning me, and now she's texting me. But I'll get back to her later. It looks like she's shopping. Okay. So I used half of my Amaranth seeds for the amount of Amaranth that I grew this past year. These packets are half full. If I was only going to grow what I grew, then I would be completely fine with the seed that I have. But I'm planning on growing an insane amount more. 150 on seeds. That's like nothing. That's like this. Yeah. So I do have this. I need to use this up because I always try to use my oldest seed first to keep a steady flow of the seed moving. You know, ideally, I don't want to hold on to seed for more than 2 years. So I always try to use my year-old seed as my first planting. Yeah. Oh, and I saw someone asking about the empty packs, and I did go over that. I saved the empty packs in with my stuff to see if I need to order more of something. And everyone asks me this every time. I do not save seed. I don't save seed at all because, I mean, here, let's go back to these zinnias. These zinnias are the perfect example. I buy individual colors of seeds of the zinnias. So, you know, I planted all of my orange zinnias together. You know, I had like 72 orange zinnias. They were all planted in one clump. And that was a huge, huge, huge advantage to me because I'm always trying to up my efficiency with my flowers so that I can make more money on my flowers. Because the flowers actually take a lot of labor versus my veggies. I find the veggies are a lot more efficient. So if I can find ways for the flowers to be faster, then they get closer to being profitable. And this last year, having the zinnias planted by specific color made it way faster for me, both in harvesting and also in arranging. For the amaranth causing rashes, I don't know. I've never had that. I'd Google it. If someone's saying that you do, Google it. But the amaranth I've never had any issue with, but you need to be really, really careful for things of the carrot family. I have a friend who works at a farm. She harvested parsnips. The parsnip harvesting day, she got so badly chemical burned from the parsnips that she had to go to the hospital. They had to get her on serious drugs. She's taking steroids to help for the anti-inflammation, and she had to take a month off work because of how bad the chemical burns were from a day of working with parsnips. So things like Amy or Queen Anne's lace, those, that is of the carrot family. And those can really do it too. So I know about the needing to be careful for the sap on some flowers. And I take it seriously, and I was reinforced how important it is to be aware of that stuff. But I mean, as you'll see in the videos, from the summer, I'm always covered, right? I have gloves. I always wear gloves. I always wear long sleeves. This, a top like this, this will be I'll wear this in spring. I'll wear some bear skin, but in the summer, even this will be something that I wouldn't ideally want to have exposed. I have these men's work shirts, and then you'll see I always have them buttoned up at the top, and I'm doing that to cover my neck. And I do that partially for sun, but also to protect my hands, to protect my arms, because any of those things, if you were working with them, if they get on the gloves, they react with your skin, and then they quite often get compounded by the sun. Sometimes the way the chemical burn works, and I think that this is the case with dandelions. I think the sap from dandelions does this, but it gets on your skin. The sap itself doesn't do anything to you, but it makes your skin super, super sensitive to the sun. So you get the sap on your hands, and then you're just going about your day on a cloudy, overcast day, not thinking of anything. And then all of a sudden you have a burn on your hands because of the sun plus everything, and then the moisture makes a lot of those chemical burns worse too. So if you're gonna have one plant, if you pick one parsnip, you get one parsnip sap on your hands. You're not gonna go to the hospital from a chemical burn. Maybe you'll get a little bit of a rash from it. But because I do everything on this farm scale, it makes the little bit of exposure to some of those dangerous saps. A little bit, it's not going to kill you. A lot could, and because I work with a lot, my friend who, had the burn so bad, she harvested parsnips all day, 8 hours. The home gardener isn't harvesting that many parsnips. So the home gardener maybe doesn't have to worry too much about the little bit of sap from the parsnips. But for me, I try to be aware of what could be dangerous, because I am going to maybe work with something for a few hours. Like I was saying about how I always cover up. I always cover up because of the sun. And one of the things that I realized when we started the farm, I had an epiphany moment. It was in March, and we were going and we were buying stuff for starting the farm. We kind of just tilled. We'd never, we had the seeds, we had the plan, but we'd never, the farm wasn't even started yet. And we're shopping at this local farm supply store, and it was a busy time of year, so there's a big lineup, And I ended up spending 5 minutes in the line behind this like young farmer guy. You know, he looked like he was like my age. And you know, it's like March, right? Like Kelowna is like gray and overcast and dark. There's like not a lot, there's no sun here in like January, February. You know, and March where like it's the gray starts to clear, we start to get some light. But so it's not like, you know, this wasn't like it was September and we just had this like, you know, beach season. And this guy, his neck, you know, like the saying, like a red neck, his neck was so dark. It was like, his neck was like black, dark. And he had a baseball cap on. And I was, you know, so I was in this lineup behind him, staring at his neck, going like, this guy gets so much sun that even after having this like dark winter period that we get in Kelowna, he's still like so dark on the back. He's got such a red neck that like there's no amount of like more dark that his skin could get, you know, going into the season. And then at the same time that I was like, my mind was blown. That night, I heard this story about this older farmer and how he had been struggling through, you know, like through in his old age with skin cancer on his ears. He was saying that like, you know, his ears, like he had this picture and his like ears were cut off because he'd gotten skin cancer so bad on his ears that they've had to like remove his ears basically. And he was saying that he'd always worn a hat, but he'd always worn a ball cap. And so when you wear a ball cap, you know, your ears, you don't tuck your ears into your ball cap. And over the years of being a farmer, he got so much sun on his ears that it was like, you know, it was pretty much guaranteed that he was gonna like just have to have this skin cancer on his ears from like a lifetime of being outside. And I realized like, you know, the redneck and the ear cancer, I was like, yeah, it like makes sense because when you go from like being a gardener, you know, it's nice to go outside for like an hour or two, like get in the garden, get some sun on your skin. But when you go from it being nice to spend an hour or two outside to it being nice to spend an hour or two inside, because you just live your life outside when you're a farmer, all sun exposure starts to be a lot of sun exposure. So we always cover up, like always, you know, and I'm more aggressive about covering up in the heat of summer than I am during the cooler times of the year. And I wear my hat and like I'm completely covered head to toe until it's dark. And like I do it so much always that like, you know, it's the uniform. I'm just 100% used to wearing it. So, you know, it'll be nighttime and I'll still have my hat on and like I don't even think of it. But yeah, like at the door before we have a mudroom and it's like I put on my hat, I put on my gloves, you know, like if I'm not already wearing like a shirt or a sweater or something to cover up, we always cover up. So that's my 15-minute rant on safety. Because I'm like it's too much. And I make my kids cover up too. I'm the parent who like dresses their kids in leggings and long sleeve cotton shirts in the summer, but then in the winter, like my daughter like always overheats. So I'm like, yeah, sure, like whatever. Like if she's uncomfortable, she'll come inside. Like I'm not worried about her being trapped outside and cold, but I am worried about them getting too much sun because we have, and the other thing too is we have zero shade on our property. It's full sun exposure, which is great for growing, but not great for kids, kids being outside. Okay. Seeds. yeah, I talked, seeing the comments about the eye damage. I talked to my, that was another thing I did. I talked to my optometrist when I was like, so I'm a farmer now, so what do I have to do for sun protection? But he said that most like prescription glasses, as long as I'm not like buying garbagey ones, they have like a UV coating. And because I always wear, like, I don't wear contacts, he was like, yeah, as long as you're wearing your glasses, like, you don't need more UV. You don't need like them actually shaded. It's just the UV that you need protected from. Because I was like, do I have to be wearing sunglasses to be safe? But he was like, no, you just need some coatings on your glasses, which I already had. So yes, eyes. Also, do not burn your eyes out, because my eyes are already bad enough. I have bad eyes. So the last thing I need is to be out there blind. Like here, guys, amaranth seeds are like ridiculous. Let's just like take a moment to imagine me blind outside trying to plant amaranth seeds. I'm gonna get some of these seeds to show you guys like what a joke these are. This is like a variety that I don't really do anything. Okay, like this is gonna be difficult to show you. All right, what do you think? Can you get, will it even focus? See these like little specks of sand? Those are amaranth seeds. So yeah, protect your eyes, because you don't want to be like I can't even feel them on my fingers, like arthritic Serena, blind, trying to plant her amaranth out in her garden. Ridiculous. I feel like if I keep it up though, I'll be like good enough at recognizing seedlings that maybe I could do it by feel. You know, give me another 50 years and like great grandma Serena could be blind and just like feeling the rows and be like, oh no, that's definitely not carrots. Oh yeah, that one right there, that's a pigweed, you know, from these tiny little things. That'd be hilarious. I don't actually want that. That's why I protect my eyes. Okay. Let's keep auditing. Let's finish with this, because I have this open, and then I'll move on and I'll show you guys some veggie seeds. Do I have cannabis seeds? No, I do not. But it is legal to have 3 plants here in British Columbia. As long as they're grown. Not like you couldn't grow them in your front yard type thing. But I don't smoke, so I ain't no time for that. Too busy. Okay. So these amaranth seeds, I was saying, I still have half packs of this, but I'm gonna plant way more amaranth this year. So I need like way more amaranth than what I currently have. I have a lot of amaranth coming. Yeah. I was saying to Ian that because like hemp, it like grows like so easy. It's like a weed. And it's like it's a really nice filler, and it probably would have like a good vase life. And you know, like people would laugh if you had a bouquet and it was like full of all these like, you know, hemp leaves. The problem though would be that like hemp, it's like, you know, rope, like it's not like a bad thing. But you know, if you showed up at like the farmer's market and you have these like hemp bouquets, you know, the market manager would be like, I don't know what you have going on there, but it looks sketchy and you're like making a bad impression at our farmer's market, so don't do that. So it'd have to be like one of those things that would be like a novel, like I have like one hemp plant, and like, you know, if you wanted to like play a joke on your like mother-in-law, you'd like order the like hemp bouquet to give to her just for the lulz, but it would have to be more of like a specialty product. But it would be funny. I don't know. I thought that hemp didn't have any smell. I didn't think that hemp was. I thought it was, you know, didn't stink. That it was just kind of like, you know, green crop. Yeah, that'd make my unique bouquets extra unique. Okay, so I have this elephant head amaranth, And I grew these in the first year because they look super cool, but they're like massive. These things are like they're like as long as my arm. So they're really, really difficult. They're really difficult to work with. I didn't plant them 2020. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'd plant more of these. It's hard for me to like get rid of amaranth. So I'm gonna keep that in the keep pile. Okay, and then the other thing that I keep with my amaranth, because it's kind of the same idea, is the Celosia. And so what do I have in here? I have Panther Plume, and this is amazing. The Panther Plume. I'm really bad at growing the Celosia. It didn't get very big. Yeah, okay, so Flamingo Feathers. I got that right here. I actually have 2 packs of Panther Plume because I overbought. So I don't actually think I need more because these have 1,000 seeds. So I probably have like at least 1,500. I do want to do better at Celosia though. Okay, so Flamingo Feathers, people highly recommended this because I was trying to find like a branching Celosia. I don't know, my Celosia just like was like small and stunted, and I've heard that like it's really easy for it to get root bound, and if you do that then it never grows super big. So maybe that was my issue. I don't know, but I did this Flamingo Feathers and I liked it. Let's see, I know I have some back here. Let me find it. I need props. I need to show you. Okay, here's the Flamingo Feathers. And so I liked it, but I mean, this kind of sums up my issue with it, right? Like here, hand for scale. And I think that my issue with it is a little bit goes back to the fact that I make unique bouquets. You know, like what I make isn't necessarily what florists would make. Here, I'm bringing out my bucket. Of Celosia. I got a whole bucket of it here. All right, and then let's get an amaranth. All right, I'm coming back. All right, props. Okay, so my bucket of Celosias, and so I grabbed this so I can kind of talk a bit about this stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this out, and also I suck at growing this stuff, so some of my complaints about this are definitely to be taken in consideration, that, you know, I probably could grow it a lot better. But I want everything to be like amaranth. I want everything, like, I want to like abuse it and still have it grow great. So this here, this cluster, you can see there's like some pink, and then this was like so bright orange, like orangey yellow. This, you know, dried, very muted, but this was like, oh, like, you know, like, oh, so yellow, like an insane color. And this is Panther Plume. And so you can see, you know, it, like these dried, these almost look like grasses, you know, like a grass seed head. But they had, so it was how it grew. Here, more props. All right, so this is like a big piece. You can see how big that is compared to this. So this would have been the center one, and then this was like a side branch. So like this is how this Panther Plume grew for me. So I got tons of these like side branches that were long enough to use in the bouquets. And then like I got some like even bigger ones once I picked off those side branches. So these like little mini Panther Plume side branches, Then here is the flamingo feather, or what's it? Yeah, flamingo feather for comparison. So I know that here on the camera, as I look at it, the flamingo feather looks way better and way punchier. But when these were fresh, like this was like yellow, like an insanely bright color. And these, like I swear these almost dried darker. These were like really muted coloring. So they were soft and they were romantic and they're this like perfect filler size. But I say this all the time and I know that it's not necessarily helpful information because everyone has to deal with what they specifically are dealing with. But here for what we sell, right? Because basically my intention with sorry guys, inhaled all these dusty flower bits. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so these, when I make my bouquets, my intention is I'm not trying to make like the most beautiful florist bouquet with like the most unique local fresh flowers you've ever seen. What I'm going for with my bouquets and the customer that I'm trying to target with my bouquets is the grocery store customer. And we're trying to target that customer specifically because there's a million people who already are doing like the florist style thing where, like, oh, this beautiful $50 bouquet. And so I like, rather than trying to compete with that, I was like, let's just do like, go for this grocery store customer. Because the grocery store flowers customer is a totally different customer from the florist customer. And the grocery store customer is also like willing to be, like the flowers don't have to be perfect for the grocery store customer. I don't eat any of the flowers. The Amaranth and the Celosia, I don't eat them. I'm sure you could, but they make me a lot more money as flowers. But yeah, so because we're going for this grocery store customer, what would be perfect for a florist, what would like look amazing in like a wedding bouquet, like these soft, romantic little pops of interesting texture that the flamingo feathers do. My customer is like, I don't care about this like tiny little thing, right? They're like, I don't want to pay you can give me this for free, but I don't see value in this in the same way that I see value in this, right? They're like, look how much bigger this is. This Amaranth, this is like worth way much more money than this tiny little Celosia thing. But I mean, this is a really big Amaranth. So because this is a side branch. But yeah, basically like 4 of these, the amount of work that it takes for me to grow this is more work and more space in my farm than this right here. And this is like fussy and it's difficult, and this is like super easy and super fast to pick. If you guys watched my one about the one that I just did with Flower Hill Farm, the one about most profitable, and I was like, oh, like the most, everyone will say, like, I tried not to harp too much about anything in that video, but like I could like remake that video and be like the #1 most profitable flower, and the answer is sunflowers, right? Like sunflowers make a huge amount of money. And it doesn't matter how much the seed is, and even when you're like Nicole and you're not direct seeding your sunflowers when you're transplanting them, though I could argue, my kids have to go to bed alarm. I would argue the cost of the seed, you know, she's dealing with some serious issues, but like with the pet, like the animals eating her seeds. But for me, if I planted sunflower seeds and I only got 50% of them making it, that would be cheaper for me. The cost of like losing 50% of my, like, you know, 10 cent a seed sunflower seeds would be cheaper than the cost of doing seedlings and transplanting them. So, you know, so I'm all for spending money on seed. I mean, you can basically sum up what I'm going to talk about for till March of I'm okay with spending money on seed. But yeah, so sunflowers, because like you just put the seed in the ground and it grows this flower, and it's like the amaranth, right? It grows up, you hack it off, like you go the leaves come off and it's ready to sell. And so it's so fast and so easy to do the sunflowers. And the amaranth is maybe even easier. The only thing that the amaranth has at a disadvantage, well, there's two things that are a disadvantage of amaranth over sunflowers. The one is, so the pro-cut sunflowers, like the ones that Nicole was talking about, they are 55 to 65 days. So it's super fast. That's like, you know, seed to plant, right? Like you put a seed underground, 2 months later you pick a plant, and they are like very, very precise time-wise. You know, like they all will bloom kind of within the same couple days of each other, which makes it really easy for farmers to do it. The amaranth is probably more of like a 90-day crop. So that means that, you know, I need it in the ground a month longer than the sunflowers, and that costs something, right? Like having to water it, having to take care of it, giving it the space, that has a cost. And then the other disadvantage of amaranth over sunflowers is everyone is obsessed with sunflowers. You basically, so here on our farm, and if you've watched the videos over the summer, you heard me gripe over and over and over again about not being able to sell my flowers. And like, you know, I want to sell 50 bouquets a market. You know, I was always sending 50 bouquets a market down, and they didn't sell. I only sold 40 bouquets. I need to sell 50 bouquets. That isn't sunflowers. Once the sunflowers get started, I usually send in with 15 to 25 bunches of sunflowers, and those they sell really well. We quite often, you know, they usually were selling 60% of what we sent, and obviously I griped when we sold 60% of my bouquets. But the reason why you never heard any complaints ever about me on the topic of sunflowers is that, it would take me an entire day to pick the flowers, to clean the flowers, and to arrange the flowers. That was like a day's worth of labor. To go, and that was like for 50 bouquets. To go and to get these like 15 to 25 bunches of bouquets, right? Because the sunflowers that we sold were bunches of 10, and then so they're just like 10 sunflowers bunched together. And so when I say 15 to 25, it's 150 to 250 sunflowers that I was sending to the market. But yeah, to do that, it would take me like an hour. So and that was like, because I'd pick them in the field, strip them, bunch them, cut them, put them into the bucket, you know, and I usually do it in the evening. I do it with the last bit of light for the day, on the Friday night. And then Ian would take them. Oh, and so the other thing about our flowers is our flowers always had to be inside the truck. So 50 bouquets was the amount I could fit in the back seat of the truck. I couldn't fit more than 50 bouquets without running out of space. But the sunflowers, they would get put in the back of the pickup truck. We put them up against the cab to like have the cab kind of protect them from the wind. But like they are so hardy that they didn't have to be inside the truck. They were like open, whipping around in the wind for a half an hour. And they spent like the night in the back of the truck. And like those, and they, okay, I've seen multiple times someone asking what sunflower I grow. Let me see if I can find the bag here. I think I used up all of my bag. And I might have thrown out my, what is this? Might have thrown out my little baggie, but yeah, I don't know. Apparently, I got rid of it. But what I have is not fancy. What I have been growing is whatever William Dam has as their cut sunflower mix. You know, and it's like this big bag, you know, it's not like a pound size bag. William Dam does like a next size down bulk bag. And I think it was this size, and it cost me $50. It was actually the most expensive pack of seeds that I bought my first year. But it had like 1,000 seeds in it. And so what I do, because most of the mix is actually branching varieties. So I start one tray, 72 plants of sunflowers ahead of time, and those I plant out. And I usually have like a row. I think this last year I had 2 rows. It was behind my dahlias. I had 2 rows of sunflowers. So I think because they get so big, I think I gave them pretty good spacing. I either had like 75 or 100 sunflowers in that one single bed, which was 2 rows of sunflowers. And those I started ahead of time and planted, so they were out early. And those were like the ones that would be my first to be able to pick off of. Those were the ones I babied. And at the same time that I transplanted out, I took my bag of seeds and I popped them into my Earthway seeder, my like garbage seeder that does a horrible job. And I ran and I did like, I think this last year I did 4 rows. So 4 50-foot rows. And it was a bit more than a bed. It was in a spot where I didn't have them spaced into beds yet. I just like ran the cedar I kind of spaced it like a foot, ran the cedar, gave it a foot, ran the cedar, gave it a foot. So it was probably the equivalent of a bed and a half. And that is the sunflowers that I had. And there was like an insane amount of sunflowers on there. And so I think the first branching sunflowers, because they got planted out in May, I think I was like picking them by beginning of July, and then like kind of mid-July, the hedge where they're like planted so tightly that they basically, it's like how I talked about the amaranth, like I planted it so tight that the stems were like, this stem is actually a pretty workable size stem. It's not like super big. The sunflowers are the same, right? The ones that were spaced and were like branching. I'm trying to find the angle. Okay, there we go. Okay, against my, there. Okay, so the sunflowers, they were like massive. It was like put your hand around it and your hand won't wrap around it. Whereas the ones that were like planted with the cedar, they're super tight together. They ended up being these like skinny little branches. And so those, as soon as there was like the first flower on the top, I just cut them. And then I'd use that. And they were so close together. And the mix itself was like a whole bunch of different sunflowers, so they all kind of had different blooming times. So because of that, because they were together and kind of like competing with each other, they didn't bloom the way so the pro cuts, they just bloom, and the all go so you can time them really well. With this mix, the hedge, I kind of planted it and I was able to just pick off of it until we actually, because the sunflowers can survive light frosts. And so we had a light frost that didn't actually do any sort of damage to the sunflowers. But the sunflowers fizzled out by beginning of October. If I wanted, and so I could have probably had sunflowers until the end of October if I had been, doing the succession planting type thing, like what you do with the pro cuts. And so also, the pro cuts, they're expensive because they're pollenless. And the pollenless sunflowers means like they don't drop like all the pollen on the table. The mix that I had, they weren't pollenless, which makes them more affordable. I'm sure you can imagine if they don't have pollen, it's probably pretty hard for them to produce seeds. So it makes sense that something that doesn't produce pollen is very expensive to get the seeds. Oh, so the branching. So these ones where they were branching, but the main hedge that was planted super tight together, I wouldn't pick them as a branching sunflower. But that first planting, which was transplanted and given space, right? Those I cut as a branching, right? So they came up, they had like one main sunflower, and I didn't touch that. I then would start picking it when it started doing the lower branches. And those, they went, so I transplanted them like beginning of May, and then they started flowering in beginning of July. And those I picked July and August, and then into September. But those ones by mid-September, they'd finished. They'd done all the flowering that they were going to do. But not that it was an issue, because I then had the other chunk going at that point. But yeah, so the branching ones, each one of those branching sunflowers, they produced an insane amount. Like I got 20 branches off of each of those sunflowers. So if that bed had 100 sunflowers planted in it, and let's say that they weren't all as generous as the best one, that was like 20. Let's be conservative and say that they produced 10 stems each. That means that bed would have produced 1,000 sunflower stems, and we sell our sunflowers for a bunch of 10 for $10, and that sells good because that is a really good price for sunflowers. The pro cuts I would sell for $2 personally, or maybe even like more of like a $2.50 price point on it, just because of how they're a little bit more complicated, they're a little bit more expensive, and they're a higher end product, right? Like, so these sunflowers that I was selling, because they're not completely pollenless, they're better than, like, okay, so this sunflower here, this is mammoth, this is like, you grow it for the sunflower seeds. But, lots of places, I know West Coast Seeds, like many years, they would send a pack of sunflower seeds as like a thank you for buying with us. And those were just like, garden variety. They made pretty flowers, but they were like super messy. You'd bring one in and it would be like a mountain of pollen. The branching ones that I had from William Dam, they weren't as messy. What I found with those was they were nice and clean. They didn't dump pollen for about 5 days. Like if I picked them, when I picked them, people could have them in their house for about 5 days before they started dumping pollen. And then for me personally, I'd be like, ditch them, get rid of them. But I only kept them at my stand for 2 days. Some, like my zinnias, because the vase life on my zinnias is insane. So the zinnias, and if I was keeping them proper, out of the sun and everything, those, they're fine for like up to 4 days before I need to get them to people. Because I want people to have like at least a week with the flowers. And my zinnias can go like 2 weeks of vase life. But, I was more cautious. I wanted people to get at least 5 days of non-mess making sunflowers. But many times exactly. Ditch them, come buy a new one. They're only $10. But my aunt would take them a bunch, and she wasn't like, oh, these things, they're such a mess. She was like, she sent me pictures of like, oh, look, I made this like bouquet with them, like on my table. And it wasn't like, I can see the pollen, like those messy garbage flowers, which is kind of how I feel about sunflowers. So they might have been even better than what I thought they were. But to go back, this is a lot of talking about sunflowers. But to go back to what I was saying about how sunflowers make so much money. So that bed that I was saying has 100 sunflower plants in it that I transplanted, right? So they're fussy. And we're going to say they produce 10 branches that I can sell per plant. So that's 1,000 stems out of that bed. If I charge $1, which people think is a deal, and I think that's fair because it's not the pro cut ones. They're not quite as perfect and as perfection, but so, everyone's happy with that. That means that one single bed in my farm is $1,000 worth of sunflowers. And if I only had 1,000 sunflowers, I could tell you I would sell every single sunflower. If we say on average that for July, August, September, I was bringing 20 bouquets to the market of sunflowers, so 200 sunflowers a week so that's 12 weeks. So that is 2,400 sunflowers is probably about what I produced last year. And if we think that I sold only 50% of that, that means I sold 1,200 sunflowers, not including sunflowers that I put into like mixed bouquets, because I also put them into mixed bouquets on occasion. So yeah, you make good money on sunflowers. That's the moral of that, of wherever that went. I think I was talking about how I think you can make money on amaranth because they have some of the advantages of sunflowers. But yeah, sunflowers, like, and the thing too about sunflowers is, no one is like, oh, this $10 bunch of only sunflowers, oh, that's, like that is worth so much money because it must be so much easier to not have to use filler compared to your other $10 arrange. Everyone was like, what? These are only $10. Your other bouquets that like have like 30 flowers in them and like took you like forever to make and are $10. Like, whoa, this like sunflower bunch, what a better deal. And I'm like, this is why flower farmers are like, yeah, sunflowers. They're just, everyone loves them. I'm not a huge fan of sunflowers. I'm obviously team veggies, not team flowers. But if I was going to pick a favorite flower, it definitely wouldn't be sunflowers. So it always blows my mind how well they do. I hear people being like, you could sell thousands and thousands. And, before bringing these bunches down to the farmer's market and seeing how people react so passionately about sunflowers, I was like, oh, well, it must be because they're able to sell thousands and thousands of flowers. It's not just sunflowers, but it is. Like, sunflowers are amazing. Okay, Dahlias. I mean, if you want to hear me rant about wasted time, no money, we basically have Serena's like Trinity. You have like me up at the top here, and then we have that like first comment about like Cosmos, and then we have another comment about Dahlias, and it like all comes together to like drive me crazy for like how much work and how little money. Dahlias are so much work. Like I'm currently right now putting in labor hours for the 2021 Dahlias because the Dahlias have to get overwintered, and then like come March they're all gonna be dried out but also moldy, after I put in all this work and all these like storage hours and all this space. And then I'm gonna have to like wash them and cut them and then try to get them to sprout, and then they won't sprout on me. And then I have to like pot them up, and then I have to baby them, and then finally I have to put them in the ground, and then they're the most sensitive of all my flowers, and then they're gonna get all these bugs. They're all prone to bugs. And then finally, you know, like August will roll around and they'll bloom, and then they'll be like, the Okanagan sun's too bright. I don't like it. And they'll like be all sunburned. I'll be like, Dahlias, you drive me crazy. I think they're beautiful. I'm excited. We're making a garden because I told Ian I was like, no dinner plates. But we're also ordering 20 varieties, 20 different dinner plates, and they come in 20 packs. So what is that? 400? We have like 400 dinner plates coming, because we're gonna sell them potted up as plants for Mother's Day. They sold like crazy here last year. We sold 100 on like the Friday, Saturday of Mother's Day weekend, and I had people like desperate, and I started selling like my personal ones that I had potted up because I was like, whatever, I have more, like I don't need that many. I know they don't make money. So Ian was like, no, we need to have the dinner plate dahlias. They were so beautiful. But I want to grow like these more productive, smaller flowering dahlias that will be a lot easier to use in the bouquets. And it's still gonna look beautiful for you guys. The plan is still like they're gonna go in the same spot, right? Because that spot is like, I love that spot where you can just like look at all the dahlias and be like, oh, but then behind it, it's gonna be amaranth instead of sunflowers. It's gonna be like, oh, it looks so good. So it'll look really pretty, but then they'll also be like better for cut flowers. Like I might actually make some money on them. Oh yeah, the dinner plates, earwigs, I just saw that. They were insane. Like we do no spraying, we do no bug protection. You know, a lot of like organic, there's still pesticides that you can use for like certified organic, but we don't use anything. We have some like insect netting that we're going to use going into the future, because there's some issues for growing like turnips and radishes. Like there's a few things that we really need to be growing on the farm because they're like good, profitable, fast crops. They're good like market gardening crops. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, buying a bouquet. I laugh because we had like a bunch of people being like, oh, Serena, your veggies and your flowers, they look so good. Like, can you ship them to us? And I was like, but if I ship them, then they wouldn't be any good. Then they'd be the same as like the stuff in the grocery store, because then they would have been shipped. What makes them so delicious is that they're fresh and local. I was always like, guys, you gotta go support your local farmers. But thank you so much. You bought me a bouquet of flowers for the summer. I'm distracted. What was I saying? Bugs. Yeah. So we don't we don't do absolutely anything for the flowers. And so I would definitely say, we have a lot of stuff that we couldn't sell to florists because there's some damage on it and stuff. And we'll never be wedding flowers, because I'm never going to grow a pristine white flower. There's always going to be the potential of like little bug bites on my flowers, and that because the customer that we're targeting is the grocery store customer with the flowers, there's a lot of space in how absolutely perfect our flowers has to be for that specific customer. Like what we're providing to them already is going to be infinitely better than the grocery store flowers that they have the option for, because our flowers, even if they're not perfect. My mom's phoning again, and apparently when she phones, it disconnects the Wi-Fi because I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm on data, so it's probably when she calls it drops. Okay, I don't know how badly I dropped you guys there. She's doing the